Hello there. So what I wanted to do for today's video is basically put together a quick tutorial that's very straightforward, going over how I created the looks for these shots here. So these looks can be achieved without the use of any LUTs, but I should preface that I did use the Dehancer plugin to achieve these looks. So this is a plugin that I've been using in DaVinci Resolve for just over a month now. And I found it very intriguing to delve a little bit more into their scientific approach behind their emulation of film stocks. And so they have over 60 different film stocks. I did a review of the plugin a few weeks ago, so you can find that in the description here if you're interested in understanding a little bit more about Dehancer. For the sake of this tutorial, what I'd recommend is just going over and downloading their free version so you can follow along and test it out in your footage. And then I do have a code where you can get 10% off if you're looking to purchase Dehancer. It's Ben10 Ferris, so I'll just link all of that in the description. So we're going to start with the clip that was actually from my most recent mini documentary, which was the football cinematic short film. So if you haven't had a chance, I'd really appreciate if you could go over, watch that. Let me know what your thoughts are. The support means everything to me, obviously. All right, so coming on over into the Dehancer tab, what I first did was I went to the input tab. And what's super cool about this is that it allows you to basically choose the source for your footage. So you can do Rec 709, you can do all sorts of different options. But what I chose to do was choose camera. So this basically enables you to select the camera that the footage was shot on. So down to the make and model, and even the format. So I shot an S-Log3 S-Gamut 3 Cine at an ISO of 12,800. And so it allows you to select all of that within this input tab here. And then below that, you have the ability to do any sort of exposure correction, temperature and tint correction as well, which I did a little bit of adjustment in the temperature and then a slight adjustment in the tint as well, as you can see here. So then the next step, what you want to do is you want to go to the film tab. And so this tab is awesome. It's super cool. So this is where you actually have the ability to select from over 60 different film profiles. And so for this instance, what I chose to do is I selected the Kodak Vision 3 500T profile. So this is a film stock that's actually still used to this day in a lot of Hollywood cinema. So once you've selected your film stock, it allows you to then push or pull to achieve a certain aesthetic that you're looking to get. So I pulled it all the way over to the right here to a value of 2 just to achieve that desired look. And this is something that you might not adjust until later on once you have a better feeling for what your look is. Okay, so then next what you want to do is you want to go to the expand tab. And this tab is crucial because it allows you to adjust the black and white points of your footage, basically preventing your image from clipping in either the shadows or highlights. And so just adjust it accordingly. I decreased the black point to -2.85 and increased the white point to 108.4. So just look at the waveform diagram for your footage, and that will better help you understand where your footage is potentially clipping in the highlights or the shadows. So after that, what I like to do is I like to go to the print tab. So this tab basically enables you to select a print stock that you want your footage to be essentially printed on. So for this instance, I selected Kodak 2383 print film. And so this is basically a film stock paper that will replicate the looks you see in Hollywood cinema. So then once you've selected the profile, it allows you to adjust the target white, which I increased to 2, the exposure, which I slightly decreased, as you can see, tonal contrast, which brought up to 20.6, color density, which is at 100. And with the saturation, typically with film, the aesthetic is slightly desaturated. So with Dehancer, they start the saturation scale at 100, and you only have the option of reducing the saturation. Oftentimes you don't see oversaturated film looks. It just kind of contradicts the aesthetic. So as you can see, once that's enabled, it really changes the overall image. Basically increases the contrast there, brings everything together a little bit more. All right, so next step is the film compression tab. This one is basically focusing on the highlights. You can first adjust the impact of the brightest points there. You can adjust the white point, as you can see, brought it to 79.5. You can adjust the tonal range as well, which is super cool. And you can adjust the color density. All right, so next tab is the color head tab. And this one's super cool because this is kind of where you can give your footage a bit more of a specific look that you're going for. It allows you to add certain colors in the highlights, the shadows, the midtones. And so just kind of have to play around a little bit to get the desired aesthetic that you're going for. I was going for more of a moody blue look for this specific shot. So this allowed me to actually achieve that look a lot easier. And then next, just added a little bit of film grain. So with this, I chose one of the pre-made Dehancer profiles and basically had the amount at 10. I didn't want to overemphasize the grain as I'd actually used a haze machine in this shot. So there's already a lot of texture in the actual shot itself. And I think if I added too much grain to the image, it just would have looked cheap and yeah, overdone. So just be mindful, just kind of know the look that you're going for and just adjust accordingly. And then the only other thing that I added was just a slight vignette. So that just kind of puts more emphasis on the actual subject and draws the attention away from the empty space. That's that for this shot, and we'll quickly go into the other shot. It's pretty similar, it's very straightforward. All right, so for this other shot, it was different because it was outdoors, whereas the other one was in a small enclosed space. And so this one, as you can see, has a lot of greenery to it. Basically, going into this shot, I wanted to, again, kind of create a moodier aesthetic. That's kind of tends to be my go-to thing for my personal projects, especially for outdoor stuff. I like to kind of subdue the greens and blues. And so I was just basically keeping that in mind when going into creating the color grade for this. So again, going into the input, chose the camera, inputted the format, and then with this, I just slightly compensated the exposure and then left everything else the same. And then the film profile for this is Kodak Vision 3 50D. So this is a daylight shot and the 500T just wasn't applicable. So enable that and then basically just adjusted the push-pull slightly there. Next, going to the print. Again, I used the Kodak 2383 print film, which for me, that's my personal favorite. I tend to lean more towards that one. But again, just play around with what works best for you and the overall look that you're wanting to achieve. And then I adjusted most of the values here, as you can see. Next, go to the expand and adjusted the black point slightly down again, white point slightly up, and then color head. For this, there were just a few adjustments. Just adjusted the yellow blue slider, the magenta green slider, and the cyan red slider. I left the shadows and midtones and highlights alone there. And then I just added a slight film grain again, just to basically create a subtle texture in the shot. And then again with this one, I added a vignette just to basically, again, bring emphasis on the subject. But yeah, that's all for this video. Like I said, I just wanted to keep it very straightforward, to the point. And so yeah, highly recommend just downloading the free version of Dehancer. It's really fun to play around with, just get a feel for it, what it has to offer, the different features that it has. And like I said, if you want to learn more about it, feel free to check out my video that I've linked in the description, or you can check out other reviews, obviously. If you have any suggestions for future videos, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm always open to suggestions if you're looking to learn something. But yeah, just keep creating, keep being awesome, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.